Hi everyone, welcome. It's Katya from Raw Women's Wisdom. Great to be back. And thank you again for all the new subscribers and also for your incredible comments and love and just kind thoughts. And from the last video I did, I really appreciate it. And thank you. I certainly look forward to sharing more with you. I just wanted to give you an overview of kind of what my channel's about and where I want to be going with it. Most of you know that, I was a mostly raw vegan for 20 plus years. And I opened, a cafe in Australia and ran raw retreats and programs and all kinds of things. So, raw veganism became my identity, my world, my whole life. And so part of what I want to help other people with is this transition phase, because it really is a really painful, sometimes mental battle between the ideology that you hold. It can be tough. It's like a showdown that's going on. One side of you is clinging to this ideology. There's polarized beliefs that are struggling to have more of a solidarity in your life and the choices that you make when it comes to consuming animal foods again. So I understand what that's like, and I'm still going through a little of it myself. It's not an easy transition, and the longer you've been vegan, the more difficult it can be, depending if you're being motivated by health problems, whether you, which most ex-vegans are, you really do hit a wall. I think most of you know I revealed that I was eating eggs probably once a year for about 3 days because the cravings were so intense, and then I dived back into veganism because it was who I was, and it was like, oh no. But last year was a huge turning point for me. As I mentioned, I broke 3 teeth. I'd already had an enormous amount of dental work done over the last few years, including losing 2 upper molars and lots of pinhead cavities along the gum line, because I did have a couple of years there, nearly 3, of being fruitarian, and that really screwed up a lot of my body. It was wonderful being high on sugar, but I'm paying for it now. I think I've kind of damaged some of my insulin receptors, and so I have to really keep the carbs right down. But I'm going to heal. There's no question about that. I was also having quite a bit of muscle wastage take place, sarcopenia, which is quite common in older people. And like I mentioned the other one, we do need protein as we get older. It's really important. So I'm filling out the clavicle bones now. And that's only happened in the last few weeks since I've been really upping the animal fats. And it is a step-by-step process. It's not easy. And I really feel there's going to be a gut apocalypse coming, as I've mentioned, and more vegans hitting the wall. And a lot of this is too because the food supply, the grains, the legumes, as I said, I never ate those. I wasn't drawn to them because I got into veganism not from originally from health reasons or ethical reasons. It was because I was fueled by rejuvenation. And I mentioned that before. I'd go to health farms, which were run by the Seventh-day Adventists, by the way. And they all had religious overtones. Like I said, I've got a background in classical homeopathy. And when you go back and you look at the medical practices of the day and just the overall philosophy, there was very much a rigidity in trying to dampen human instinctual behaviors. We can't stir up any lust for meat or stimulating sex or anything like that. So it's got that puritanical roots to it, especially if you look at Arnold Ehret's era too. So I've got this new wave of millennials who are really don't have this this knowledge and the background. They haven't done the research. So so a lot of my experiences I want to share with you all, because it's not just in the vegan ex-vegan side, but of course, you know, I have a passion to help a lot of ex-vegans, and they're reaching out to me, with a lot of gut and digestive problems, but also structural, more dental problems. The structural problems often will come later, and that's really was the huge wake-up call for me, because like I said, you've got to keep your skeleton. If those bones start to crumble, and people do often say they look fabulous on the outside, they love the high from all the high carbs and the sugary vegan diet, but there's chaos going on inside your body, you know, it's breaking down. So I'm kind of have a passion for that, and I really want to help a lot of ex-vegans or vegans who become ex-vegans, and also help spread the message so that a lot of young people don't fall into the same trap, because, you know, 40, 50 years ago, we never saw young people like this with chronic illness and anxiety and mental issues from veganism. I mean, fair enough, it wasn't even common in those days to be a vegan. But like I mentioned, you know, I've come from an era where as children we were brought up on organ meats and so forth. The maternal health clinics used to advocate that. Very different scene now. And I think also the grains and legumes are being treated with a lot more chemicals, as I said, the glyphosates, GMOs. And even plants, people are having a lot more reaction to plants, the oxalates, the phthalates, and other anti-nutrients that tend to be creating problems for them. And we didn't hear of that a long time ago. Perhaps also it might have been going on, but it wasn't. We didn't have the ability to pinpoint it and say this is what's causing it. But then again, we weren't consuming spinach and kale in truckloads like people are now. It's totally gone. So there's too much emphasis, I think, on, you know, I mean, I was having the smoothies too, but I must say I didn't have a lot of those kind of foods. I'd put in other greens, but they would have a lot of fruit. So I didn't get the kidney issues. It was more from the blood sugar side, not as far as the oxalates. Anyway, so that's kind of what I'd like to do. I'd also like to share also the wisdom that I've gained also in rejuvenation and beauty. That's another one in my area. And also just to connect you back to nature, you know. If you don't know, I am a gut or digestive alchemist, I call myself, and I have qualifications in vibrational medicine too that go back a long time. I had my own schools 37 years ago now. So I have an enormous amount of experience and knowledge and wisdom that I want to pass on and share with you all. And like I said, there's going to be a gut apocalypse, and these are the things that are really issues that are affecting so many young people: the bloating, the IBS, the autoimmune problems, inflammation of the gut. Leaky gut now is affecting about 95% of the population. I think there's not one person who doesn't have some kind of gut damage going on. And, you know, that's a pretty hard statement to make, you know, because it kind of really strikes you how the severity of the whole thing. So we've got that happening, and there's also an increase in autoimmune problems, and they're set to increase even more. I actually had some fibromyalgia, which, that came about from an accident I had about 5 years ago, and I was vegetarian at the time. So, and I had some surgery on the knee, which I didn't want to have at the time, but it wasn't healing so well. But anyway, next thing I know, I've got fibromyalgia. I couldn't even walk one morning, and so I understand the horrific nightmare of not being able to fall asleep and having constant pain in the body. And suffice to say, all these things are healing since I've been eating a lot more animal foods, and particularly fats. And my skin is changing. The other thing is my nails are getting, you know what, I have worn nail extensions for the last 4 years. I think my nails were just abysmal. Brittle, falling, thin. I used to think, well, my mother had thin nails, you know. I knew there was some nutritional things going on. But again, you know, when you're hooked into this ideology, when you're hooked into the constructs of being a great citizen, you know, by eating plant-based foods. And plant-based does include small amounts of meat, if you look at the definition of it. And while we're here, I want to clarify the definition of veganism, because a lot of people say you're not vegan. But if you go and look up the Webster dictionary definition, the vegan term was coined in 1944. Vegetarians were known because they didn't eat meat or dairy. And then the word vegans, you know, people started calling themselves vegans because they didn't eat dairy. So there's nothing, dairy or eggs. So there's nothing about ethics, nothing about activism, nothing about that if you choose not to be vegan anymore, that you weren't a vegan to begin with. So, you know, this kind of arguing that, you know, you weren't a vegan, it is so illogical, and there's no critical thinking in a lot of the arguments that vegans will come back at you with. And I mean, I used to have some of these as my repertoire as well, but I'm embarrassed now. But I can see through it all. I can see the whole thing. And luckily I've been alive a lot longer than most people who have been doing veganism for a shorter period of time. And I knew what life was like when I was younger. And it certainly wasn't this kind of division going on. But as I said, you know, diets become more complex. You know, we've really been trained out of knowing what we should eat. I mean, we all know, but we've just lost it. We've lost the trust in ourselves. We've lost the ability to act on what we know is right for ourselves. We have to go and ask somebody. It's really got to the point where some people are just so confused, and they want to know about macros and micronutrients. I mean, I don't even think of these things. It's not important to know all that. When someone says to me, well, you know, in response to say if I say I'm eating liver every second day at the moment, oh, but what about too much vitamin A? You might get toxicity, and that can't be good for you. But I'm like, what? My body might just tell me a week from now that it doesn't want it again for a few weeks. So be it. I don't question anything. One of the biggest wake-up calls for me too was, coming to different countries, particularly rural areas, and watching how they live. I don't question what they're eating and what they're doing, and it's this is almost like a disease. It's poisoning people's ability in Western world to. It's undermining their confidence for a start, but it's also poisoning their ability to trust in their own knowing, their own intuitive feelings that we've all been gifted with, you know. And it really does take us further away from ourselves instead of towards ourselves. So that's another thing that I really I want to emphasize, and I teach and encourage people to reconnect with themselves and nature. You know, so that's very much a part of my teachings, and I'll be doing that too on the channel. It's going to encourage you all to do that more, and you'll find that there's a lot of veils going to be lifted this year, more so on things that we just would never think would be revealed, and it's going to create some confusion, but it's in a way it's to get us back to questioning everything, listening to ourselves more. And I know that a lot of things I've been taught's been turned upside down, that's for sure. And I'm proving it through direct experience. I mean, this is what we need to say to other people when things are happening for us, as opposed to a data or a chart or science saying such and such, that this is how this should be happening for you or whatever. But you're having an experience that's so different to that. I don't take any notice of that data stuff. I just listen. I just observe what happens within myself. So can you see how this is all been orchestrated in a way to make us more reliant and on other corporate companies, government authorities, to tell us what's right for us in what we need to eat at any given time. Sure, it's good to hear these guidelines, but really, we do know, and it's really starting to reconnect with that. The other thing is the emotional connection to healing, and just go to that light. And there's quite a lot to be said on that as well, because the emotions do play a big part in our overall well-being and health, that's for sure. And it's certainly been the case for me. So I'll go into how I made a breast lump disappear. That was quite serious. It was cancerous, but anyway, I made it disappear through contacting the emotions behind it. And I was eating a lot of high fruit there too, and all vegan. So, it's multifaceted. So we have to approach things on all different levels. It's not just the food. So rejuvenation is the protocols I want to share with you, and also my direct experiences, and hopefully they'll help you. Also, my wisdom that I want to share with you, and how to overcome different obstacles. So there's our Siamese that we have. We've got two of them. One of the things that vegans have often said to me, but Katya, you don't need to eat meat. And I said, really? How come then, when I've been eating animal foods, and I don't eat dairy, by the way, this is just me because my body doesn't call for it. So I have been having fish, fatty, and more fatty foods lately, because that's tended to put the weight on, because, I'm not a big person. I've always been quite small, petite. And it was stripping the weight off me. But now I'm filling out, and it's really good, and I'm really happy about that. But so one of the things they'll say to me is, you don't need meat. And then, of course, I say, well, look, if that's the case, why is it that when I do eat it, the symptoms I'm suffering with have disappeared? So what does that tell me? It tells me that my biology does require meat. How can it tell me anything different? So, there's interesting things. I want you to just be very clear when you have anyone confront you with your choices. And, you don't have to defend. And it is difficult at first because, you kind of a little bit wobbly on how you feel. Your identity gets really shook up. But if you can really fully trust in your own experiences above anything else, then that's all that matters. Absolutely. Be your own laboratory. Do some testing on yourself. Try different things. Try them out. Don't you agree? Yes. All right, I'm going to do some filming in the kitchen next time. The lighting is a lot better. And I'll set up the camera there. So, but anyway, this is not a long video. I just wanted to give you an overview of what the channel's about. If any of you have any topics or any queries or questions you'd like me to discuss, I'll be more than happy to. So please let me know below. And you can follow me on Instagram. You'll see some photos of me getting some musculature back, which is pretty good. I think I'm in my 63rd year. So I've got some interviews coming up also. I'll be interviewing some women. I've already done a couple. I'll be putting those up as well for you to listen to ex-vegan women because, yeah, I'm a woman and I'm particularly interested in the not just the effects on women who've been vegans, but how the transitioning over to having more animal foods and what kind of protocols they've used. Everyone's got a unique story they've come from, which is quite riveting too. We've all got different stories, but there seems to be a lot of commonalities that we were all being presented with, from being vegan for a while. Health problems, emotional problems, mental problems, not being able to think clearly, sleep was a particular one, teeth, blood sugar, it's enormous ones. I've had some incredible things happen actually. My hearing, I said, it even improved, which was quite amazing. So that's something else that I'll be doing as well. So, all right. I think I'll wrap that up for now, and thank you all for listening. And yeah, so if you are struggling with that transition, that, you may have been watching a lot of ex-vegan videos or hearing other people, and it's triggering something within you or confirming something that, a problem, a health problem that you're finding is appearing in your life. You may be struggling with it. You've done all kinds of things to try and overcome it. Supplements and all kinds of things, which you kind of just have you getting by, but then, they all come up again. Let me know, because I really feel I can help you get through these hurdles. I mean, I've had some vegans approach me and say they can't even handle meat. I couldn't even go past the meat departments. I run through them. I kind of wouldn't be vocal and go, oh, don't eat that or whatever, but I'd have this look of disdain if I was at barbecues and things like that. And I avoided doing anything with meat because for those who don't know, I've got raw cats, Siamese, and I had some great stories of how I transitioned a Burmese cat to a raw food diet 9 years ago. She, no, hang on, when did she pass away? 2011, end of 2011. So it's nearly, just over 8 years ago. But she was given the prognosis. She had a mammary tumour when she was 9. Prognosis of, a few months to live, a year at most. And she lived another 9 years because I changed her diet. Totally took everything out. Dry food. I wrote about that in my second book, by the way. So I'm writing another book. This is on my journey as well, and I'll be including quite a lot of recipes and different things in it as well that you'll enjoy. But yeah, so these cats are on raw, they're carnivores, and it's great because we share some meals together, which is fun. But yeah, it is a transition. I haven't just jumped into this overnight. This has been such a mind struggle for me, and I still have times where I just don't know who I am, but that's starting to go. So I just want to, encourage you and give you support, because I know what it's like, especially when you've had your whole identity wrapped up in it. So it is a step-by-step thing, and you do what you can, but you find too, when you start eating animal foods again, your taste buds change. They really do. Different things happen. My jaw drops at some of the things that are happening, because I just would never think that eating meat and animal, particularly fats, well, so much now, evidence about how we need animal fats, how much it's actually made me look and feel better, everything we've been taught about meat being villain and being acidic and toxic and constipating, it's turning out not to be true, and I'm proving it. So, and this is the kind of stuff I used to parrot off, but of course I didn't have the experience of it. As a lot of vegans do. They start, thrashing out these arguments about, meat, but they've not actually done it themselves or had the comparison, had the direct experience of eating meat again to see what it's actually like. So it's an interesting thing. And I also find too, a lot of people say to me, oh, but when you get to that age or my age or whatever, I won't be like this, and that's not going to happen to me, blah blah blah. The thing is, it's pretty ignorant to think that you will have the foresight to know how you're going to be at 60 or 63. And I'll put my hand up to that too. And to think that you're going to have this instant wisdom. Wisdom comes through experiences in life and what you extract from them, the wisdom you extract from them. Wisdom is also a badge that we receive once we hit around 55. Something happens as we go into this other part of our life. And not everybody is fortunate to get to that age. So I am, sharing you my personal and direct experiences of it. So, okay, enough of that. All right, so we'll see you all again. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it, and I love sharing with you. And like I said, please leave any comments below, anything you'd like me to talk about. I'll be out in the kitchen again too. I'll love to make some food out there because it's what I used to do all the time. This is like a nighttime cozy kind of chat, and I'll be running retreats this year. I've already got a few people wanting to come. You can also, if you feel inclined, I have a private Facebook group, Raw Women's Wisdom, where you can share all your journey in a safe space. It's respectful and it's lovely, and I usually have women in this because, we share a lot of things that are pertinent to women. The retreats I am opening up for ex-vegans because I want to help them, especially younger people, learn to reconnect with themselves. I want to share a lot of the experiences and wisdom I have to connect them back to nature, because this place that I have here as a retreat is just beautiful in North Thailand, and you certainly have the ability to do that. Plus we'll be having a lot of healing foods, fermented foods, broths, chicken livers, all kinds of great stuff, but these are sourced wild and local. So it's a whole cultural experience. But I'll share more about that as time goes by. So, and if you would like a consultation with me, I also have an ability to read people's bodies. It's in my family. It goes back many, many generations. So I can kind of scan and pick up what's going on and ascertain what the root causes of things, and come from a very qualified approach in that way. But also, I bring in a lot of different aspects. So if you're wanting to do that, you can email me at rawwomenswisdom at gmail.com. rawwomenswisdom@gmail.com. Okay, so I'll be happy to help you out with particularly digestive problems. Okay, all right, so bye for now, and we'll see you soon.